Ksenia, what, as far as you know, has been the reaction inside Russia to Alexei Navalny's death?
Well, it's been a huge reaction. People are really reeling from it. It really hurt people, like, deep inside, you know, because I think Navalny was kind of really deep in people's hearts. So a lot of people almost took it personally, and people are trying to come out and protest in the streets. There have been quite rough detentions. I'm sure you've seen some of them. Some of them are elderly people, women, young teenagers, and they're getting roughed up by 5, 6 people each, you know, really in a terrifying manner. I mean, people don't get arrested like this here, you know. So I think, essentially, it's the regime's way of showing that anyone, even if it's just one person with a flower, you know, there is no space for that at all.
The numbers, though, this time round are a bit rather small than they were, say, when 7 or 8 years ago, I think thousands were out on the streets with Navalny. What does that tell us?
It only tells us that, you know, 7, 8 years is enough for people to learn not to be helpless, but to know better. I know it's probably, you know, a weird way of putting it, but essentially there is quite a common understanding that if there is a big protest in Russia today, you know, people are going to be shot at. This regime is not going to stop. You know, if there is a protest big enough that cannot be dispersed, it is going to be shot at. And people do understand that. And people do understand that they will end up in jail for long terms, even if they were just passing by sometimes. You know, you don't even have to be actively protesting anymore to end up in jail.
Navalny said in a documentary which was released, I think, in 2022, that if they decide to kill me, it means we are incredibly strong at this moment, at that moment. What do you think he meant by that?
I think I think he didn't even realize then himself the effect he has already had on Russian opposition, Russian anti-war movement, because the truth is that there is a lot more to anti-war movement than Navalny and his team. Obviously, Navalny, as a person, is indispensable and no one can replace him. But there are hundreds of people all around the world that have been working together for years that actually have nothing to do with Navalny's team. You know, we all collaborate, we all work together. And this rhetoric of Russian opposition not being able to unite, that's actually a bit funny, because these are 3 people bickering on Twitter. You know, this is not the Russian anti-war movement. So a lot of these organizations were actually shaped up when Navalny got jailed, so a year prior to full-scale invasion. So by the time the full-scale invasion started, we were already working together. And now we have been working really closely together for 2 years, so altogether about 3 years. And, you know, that's his legacy. Without him, this would not have been possible.
So you think that after his death, there will be others to lead this movement. But do you fear that they might face the same fate?
Majority of people who are, you know, really effective right now in terms of anti-war activities and lobbying and being politically active, they're not inside of Russia. I think this is one big difference. There are very few people left there. And of course, him physically being there, that was a very big difference. So in that sense, you know, no one can and should probably take that place, you know. Of course, there is Vladimir Kara-Murza, there is Ilya Yashin. But if anything, I think all of us together now have to put all our efforts together to get them out of there, rather than, you know, have another jailed leader.
But it is true, and we know this from the Litvinenko case, that nobody is beyond the reach of the Putin regime, no matter where they are.
Well, we just had this case with B2. It's a band that was detained in Thailand for lack of working papers, apparently. But yeah, they were held for about a week in a cell with 80 people. And it was quite a terrifying experience for them because they just went there on a tour. But because they were openly outspoken about the war, and Russian government pressured Thai government, they got detained, and it took all of the efforts of everyone, you know, UK as well. The UK ambassador in Thailand went to chat to the negotiations. But yeah, Putin can reach far, for sure.
Do you worry about your own safety?
Being in UK, I do not necessarily. I mean, I have been told I shouldn't worry about my safety here. I definitely cannot travel to some places because some countries friendly to Russia, they tend to extradite people. I'm not on a foreign agent list, or our organization is not considered undesirable because I'm the founder of Russian Democratic Society in London. Essentially, yeah, I had to brief my kids on what like a nerve agent poisoning looks like, just in case.
Your children?
Or they're teenagers, not a 5-year-old.
Well, doesn't matter. That's not something you typically do with your children, no matter how old they are. Let me just ask you, really, what hope is there for change in Russia?
I think there is all the hope. You know, time moves forward, history moves on, and everything changes sooner or later. One thing I can say, in the 2 years that I have been participating in all of this, and, I never thought this would happen to me. I'm just a normal person from creative background, and I could have never imagined myself where I am right now. What I have learned is, don't take no for an answer. There is always a no, a no, a no, a no, and then at some point there is a yes. And so I think the most important thing is that governments around the world actually acknowledge that we exist, and they start communicating with us better, Everyone wants to see that one leader, and if you don't have that one leader, then, it's too hard for them to talk to a group of people or to a coalition. But without us, they're not going to get anywhere, because we are the ones with the understanding of, Russia, Russian people, how the politics there work, the mentality, all of these things really matter.
Ksenia Maximova, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.